Okay, so this is video number 2, which will cover numbers 7 through 10. So all of the quadratic and linear systems. So I'm doing this a little bit different than we did in class because I think that you will like this better. So the ones that are quadratic we're going to leave as is, but the second one that's linear, we're going to solve for the y, and then we're going to plug it in for the y in this one. And I think that you guys will like this a little bit better. Sometimes it's a little bit easier. So for instance, on number 7, you would end up having to square root this y if we were to do it the way we have been doing it. And with this way, you won't have a square root, so it'll be a little bit easier. So we'll solve for y by subtracting the x and adding the 1. So I get negative x plus 1. And we're going to plug it in for that y right there. So we've got 5x squared plus 2. Then you need parentheses. Negative x plus 1 squared minus 24x plus 26. So what that did is it eliminated all the y's, so all we have is x's. So the first thing that we need to do, though, is simplify the squared part. So I'm just going to kind of do a little mini thing right here so we can FOIL out our x plus 1. So I've got negative x times negative x is positive x squared. Negative x times positive 1 is negative x. 1 times negative x is negative x. And 1 times 1 is 1. So if we put our two middle terms together, we combine like terms, we get x squared minus 2x plus 1. So that takes care of this part right here. So I'm going to write down what we have. So we have 5x squared plus 2 times all of this that we just did minus 24x plus 26. So we need to distribute that 2. So 5x squared stays out front. So now we have 2x squared minus 4x plus 2 minus 24x plus 26. Now we'll just combine like terms. So 5x squared and 2x squared give us 7x squared. Negative 4x and negative 24x give us negative 28x. 2 and 26 give you 28. And then all of these will divide by 7. So we get x squared minus 4x plus 4 equals 0. And now we are ready to factor that. So plus in the back means 2 of what's in front, plus you get that x there. What multiplies to make 4 and adds to make 4 is 2. And since these are both the same, we just need to set it equal to 0 one time. So x minus 2 equals 0. I'll add the 2, so x is 2. And I just have the 1x, so I only have to plug it in once. And you can plug it into either one of these. I like the bottom one because it's way less complicated. So you've got 2 plus y minus 1 equals 0. 2 and negative 1 make 1. And then you'll subtract the 1, so y is negative 1. So that solution to that system is 2, negative 1. All right, number 8. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to solve for y here and plug it in right here. So I would have to add the 3x, and then I would have to add the 4. So this will go in for the y in the other equation. So I've got 2x squared minus 3x, and then I'll plug in for the y, plus 3x plus 4 minus 6 equals 0. So when you combine like terms here, these two are going to cancel, so I only have this one x to deal with, which is nice. And then 4 minus 6, which is negative 2. So now all I have to do is solve for x. So I'll add the 2. And then I will divide by 2. So I get x squared equals 1. Well, then to get this squared off, I would have to square root and not forget that I have to do the positive and negative root. So the square root of 1 is 1. So I get a positive 1 and a negative 1. So I have two x values to look at. So I have to plug in twice. So I'll start with the positive 1. So I get negative 3 times 1 plus y minus 4 equals 0. So this would be negative 3 plus y minus 4 equals 0. That would give you negative 7. Add the 7. And so y is 7 when x is 1. And then we'll do the same thing and plug in negative 1. So I get 3 plus y minus 4 equals 0. This would give me y minus 1 equals 0. So I would add the 1. So y equals 1 when x is negative 1. So those are my two solutions to that system. All right, so we'll do the same thing on number 9. We're going to solve for y and plug it in for the y up here. So we'll subtract the x, subtract the 3, and divide by 2. So I get negative x minus 3 over 2. All right, so I'm going to plug this in for this y up here. So I get 2x squared plus 5 times negative x minus 3 over 2 squared minus 40x plus 70 equals 0. So this is a little more complicated just because this is a fraction. So you have to square the top and the bottom. So let's square the top first. So you have negative x minus 3 times negative x minus 3. So you get negative x times negative x is positive x squared. Negative x times negative 3 is positive 3x. Negative 3 times negative x is positive 3x. And negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. So if you combine like terms, you get x squared plus 6x plus 9. And then if you square that 2 on the bottom, 2 squared is 4. So now what we have is 2x squared plus 5 times x squared plus 6x plus 9 over 4 minus 40x plus 70 equals 0. All right, so distribute your 5 through the top here. So you get 2x squared plus 5x squared plus 30x plus 45 all over 4 minus 40x plus 70 equals 0. All right, so because we have a 4 on the bottom, you need to go through and multiply every single term by 4. So this needs to be multiplied by 4, this needs to be multiplied by 4, this, and this. So that would give you 8x squared. If I multiply this by 4, it will cancel on the bottom. So I'm just left with everything that's on the top. Negative 40 times 4 would be negative 160. And 70 times 4 will give you 280. So combine your like terms. You got 8x and 5x squared. That would give you 13x squared. 30 and negative 160 is negative 130x. And 45 and 280 would give you 325. All of this will divide by 13. So that would give you x squared minus 10x plus 25 equals 0. Now we're ready to factor. Plus and back means 2 of what's in front. So we have 2 minus signs. And 5 and 5 will multiply to make 25 and add to make 10. So we have 2 of the same, so we only need to set it equal to 0 one time. So I get that x is 5. Then you plug in. So I've got 5 plus 2y plus 3 equals 0. 2y plus 8 equals 0. Subtract the 8. 2y equals negative 8. Divide by 2. Y is negative 4. So my point would be 5, negative 4. Alright, so for this last one here, again, we're going to solve for y and plug in. So we have to add the 3x and add the 1, and then we'll plug that in for this y up here. So we have negative 3x squared minus 5x plus 4 times, plug in for the y, minus 56. So we'll distribute. That would give me 12x plus 4 minus 56. Then I combine like terms. I don't have any other x squareds. So I've got negative 5 and positive 12, which would be positive 7x. And then 4 minus 56, which would be negative 52. And what you're going to figure out once you start doing this and you try to factor is that this is not factorable. And then, you know, the smart thing to do would be to go and graph both of these and see what it looks like. And what you'll see is that it looks like this. So they never actually touch. And so therefore, if they don't actually touch, you have no solutions. So this would be no solution. So if you come to a dead end where you can't figure out, you know, what you're supposed to be doing, or even what you did wrong, like at this point you might be thinking you did something wrong, go and graph both of them, and that's going to, you know, make you realize that there was nothing else you could do. All right, so this is the end of video number 2.